You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. There is a sacred truth that waits patiently for you to hear it beneath the noise of memory, beneath the noise of pain, beneath the clutter of old stories you've told yourself again and again until they've shaped your entire identity. And that sacred truth is this: the past is not who you are. It is only who you were convinced to believe you are. We live in a world that has taught us to tether our sense of self to timelines. This is who I am, we say, pointing backward to a broken childhood, to a betrayal, to the years we were unseen, unloved, misunderstood. But there is no freedom in chaining yourself to a story that no longer serves the evolution of your soul. The past is like a wake behind a boat, shows where you've been, but it cannot steer you forward. It has no power unless you reach back, pick it up, and place it over your face like a mask. So many souls walk this earth in suffering, not because of what happened, but because they won't let what happened stop happening. They replay it, rehearse it, reaffirm it, until it becomes a costume they wear so tightly they forget they were ever anything else. But hear me, there is something within you that was never hurt, never abandoned, never unloved, never broken, and that part of you, that divine eternal presence, is your truest identity. You are not the frightened child. You are not the failed relationship. You are not the financial loss, the addiction, the mistake, or the moment of collapse. You are not your trauma. You are not your depression. You are not the echo of someone else's inability to love you. You are the soul who survived, the breath that kept going, the consciousness that chose to keep waking up every morning, even in the dark. You are the observer of all those moments, not the moments themselves. But here's what the ego does: it tries to build a kingdom out of memory. It clings to identity because identity feels safe. Even if that identity is steeped in pain, it is still familiar. And the ego would rather have a predictable prison than an open, unknown sky. To stop using the past as your identity, you must first recognize that it was only ever a teacher, not a sculptor. It shaped moments, yes, but it was never meant to define your essence. Pain shows up in your life as a mirror, as a message, as a master, but it does not have to become your home. Imagine walking through a forest and tripping over a rock. You fall, scrape your knee, and it hurts. Do you stay on the ground for the rest of your life pointing to the stone? Do you carry that stone in your pocket forever, telling every person you meet, this rock is who I am? Or do you learn where it lay, stand up, dust yourself off, and walk on with greater awareness? When you identify with your past, you are trying to live life looking in the rearview mirror. And the soul does not move backward. The soul is always now, always forward, always present. The soul cannot even see the past unless the mind drags it there. Every time you say, this happened to me, ask yourself, but is it happening now? Most often, the answer is no. What's happening now is peace. What's happening now is silence. What's happening now is the beating of your heart and the rise and fall of your breath. What's happening now is life a new canvas, but your thoughts may still be coloring it with the old brushstrokes of yesterday. Let me remind you of something sacred. You were born whole. You came into this world not as a product of pain, but as a vessel of light. And though the world may have tried to convince you otherwise, though it may have tried to rename you with its labels and limitations, it cannot touch your essence. Not truly. Your soul is untouched by suffering. It simply witnesses. It simply learns. It simply evolves. You have the power right now to return to that essence, not by erasing the past, but by releasing it. Not by forgetting what happened, but by refusing to allow it to narrate your present. You are the author now. You hold the pen. The chapter has ended. Why are you still rereading it when the page is blank and the ink is still wet? Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It's about saying what happened no longer owns me. It's not about them. It's about your liberation. It's about untying yourself from the anchor that's kept your soul from rising. And If you think you need closure before you move forward, let me tell you something gently, but clearly, closure is not something you get from the past. Closure is what you give yourself by no longer needing anything from it. The moment you stop waiting for an apology, for understanding, for justice, for healing from the one who hurt you, that is the moment you become free. The past is not a prophecy. It is not a verdict. It is not a prison. It is a place you passed through. And the only reason it continues to feel real is because you revisit it so often that you forget to see where you are now. Think of it like this. You are standing in a beautiful field, flowers blooming, sky open, birds singing, and yet you keep looking down at an old photograph of a storm. You keep describing the storm. You tell others about the storm. But if you would only lift your eyes, you would see that the storm has passed. Your pain was real, yes. Your heartbreak was valid. Your tears were sacred. But your spirit was always stronger than the wound. Do not let the wound become your name. You have been calling yourself by the names of your scars, but your true name is peace. Your true name is joy. Your true name is I am, not I was, not I broke, not they hurt me. Just I am. The past cannot survive in the light of full presence. Every time you step into the now, the chains fall away. Every time you choose gratitude, every time you choose stillness, every time you choose self-compassion, you are reminding yourself that this is who you are. Not the version of you who had to survive, but the version of you who now gets to thrive. The world around you may keep bringing up who you were, but you don't have to answer to that name. You can say, that was a chapter. I'm not erasing it, but I am no longer reading it. And when the mind tries to pull you back, because it will, you gently say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I am safe now. That story is over. I choose peace. You are not obligated to carry pain just because you once held it. You are not disloyal to your past by outgrowing it. You are not arrogant for choosing healing. You are brave. This world needs more souls who have dared to release the roles they were cast into and step into the freedom of presence, who have stopped introducing themselves by their wounds and started radiating their wisdom instead. The ones who no longer bleed on people who didn't cut them. The ones who turned their hurt into insight, their sorrow into depth, and their history into higher ground. You are one of those souls. You don't have to wait another moment to begin, not after the next book, not after the next apology, not after the next therapy session or healing ritual. You can begin right here by saying, I am not my story. I am the soul who observed it, who lived it, who learned from it, and who now releases it. The ego may resist. It may say, but who am I without my pain? And that is the question. That is the threshold. Because once you remove the story, what remains is truth. And truth is simple. Truth is love. Truth is breath. Truth is that you are already whole, already divine, already worthy, not because of what you've endured, but because of who you've always been beneath it all. Now breathe. Let it go. Let yourself risen not as a reaction to your past, but as a response to your soul's invitation to be free. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. And right now, in this moment, you can choose peace. You can choose to stop using the past as your identity. You can choose to come home to yourself. You can choose now, and now, and now again, because this moment, this eternal now is where your true life lives. And the past will let go of you the moment you let go of it. What would your life feel like if you woke up tomorrow with no memory of who you used to be? Not in the sense of forgetting, but in the sense of no longer carrying the emotional weight of it. What if all that remained was this moment and the fullness of being present with it? Can you imagine the lightness in your chest, the stillness in your thoughts, the soft freedom of not having to explain your pain anymore. So much of human suffering is not in the moment, it's in the remembering. And not just the remembering, but the identifying with what is remembered. A wound is not just a scar, it becomes a name tag. A mistake becomes a sentence, a betrayal becomes a worldview. You begin to see life not as it is, but as you were hurt. But the divine does not see you through the eyes of your history. The divine sees you through the eyes of your essence. It knows only the truth of who you are underneath the layers you've gathered to protect yourself. It sees the eternal flame that flickers even in your darkest hour. It whispers gently every time you're quiet enough to hear, "You are not your timeline. You are timeless." Let me say this again. You are timeless. You are not the events that happened to you. You are not the age at which they happened. You are not frozen in that year, that room, that night. You are the consciousness that passed through it all and still miraculously remained. And what a miracle that is. That despite the weight, you continued to move. That despite being misunderstood, you sought to understand. That despite being unloved in some moments, you never stopped yearning to love. That's not weakness. That's divinity remembering itself through you. So how do we stop using the past as our identity? We begin by watching our thoughts. Without judgment, just with awareness. Every time you say, "I always do this," pause. That's not your identity, that's a pattern. And patterns can be released. Every time you say, "People always leave me," stop. That's not your truth, that's a wound speaking. And wounds can be healed. Every time you say, "I'm just the kind of person who," listen to how your words are casting a spell over your life. What you affirm becomes your reality. And if you keep affirming your pain, you will keep living inside it. Instead, begin speaking from the present truth of who you are becoming, not the ghost of who you were. Say, "I am learning to stay. I am remembering that I am loved. I am discovering that I am enough. I am shedding the skin of who I was told to be. I am here now, free." This is not about spiritual bypassing. It's not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it be the script that writes the rest of your life. There is a difference between acknowledging the wound and identifying as the wound. One brings wisdom, the other breeds imprisonment. What if, instead of repeating the narrative, you honored the lesson? What if, instead of saying, "I was abandoned," you said, "I was taught to find wholeness within"? What if, instead of saying, "I was betrayed," you said, "I was shown where not to place my trust so I could learn to trust myself"? The meaning you give to your past is the power it has over your present. You get to redefine the story not by changing what happened, but by changing what you believe it means about you. The caterpillar does not mourn the skin it shed. It does not grieve its days of crawling. It simply surrenders to the transformation. It allows the becoming. And that becoming means releasing everything that no longer serves its wings. You too are here to fly. You too are in the chrysalis of evolution. And your past, as painful as it was never meant to be your cage. It was meant to be your cocoon. Every wound held the seed of awakening. Every heartbreak cracked you open just wide enough for light to pour in. Every silence you endured trained you to hear your own voice with clarity. You do not become who you are in spite of your past. You become who you are because you chose not to be limited by it. But you must choose again and again and again. Because the mind will try to pull you back. The ego will whisper, "Don't forget what they did. Don't trust. Don't change." Because change means ego death. And the ego would rather wear the crown of pain than risk the vulnerability of rebirth. But you are not your ego. You are the vast, infinite awareness beneath the ego. The sky, not the clouds. The ocean, not the waves. The stillness beneath the noise. When you stop identifying with the past, you begin to live from that space of stillness. And from there, every moment becomes new. Every encounter becomes sacred. Every breath becomes a doorway to the now. There is no one moment of healing. Healing is a way of being. It is the decision to show up again and again, not as the wounded self, but as the witnessing self, not as the victim, but as the soul. And when I say soul, I mean that eternal, changeless, luminous core of you that has never been touched by trauma, that part of you that remains untouched by time, that part of you that looks through your eyes and says, I have always been here. That part of you is where the power is. And you access that part by being still, by listening, by letting go of the need to explain yourself to others, by dropping the need to be understood, because the soul is not interested in being understood, it is only interested in being aligned. Alignment is peace, alignment is presence. Alignment is saying, I don't need to hold this pain anymore just to prove it existed. Because it did. It existed, and you survived it. Now it's time to stop surviving and begin living. It's time to stop rehearsing the story and start writing a new one. It's time to take off the mask of the past and reveal the face of your true being, radiant, calm, eternal. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth. You only need to remember it. You do not need to fix yourself. You only need to remove what was never truly you to begin with. All that shame, that's not yours. All that fear, that was learned. All that guilt, that was inherited. Let it fall. Let it drop like dead leaves in autumn. You don't have to explain why you're changing. You just have to be willing to change. You are not abandoning your past by evolving. You are honoring it by growing beyond it. The past is a chapter, not a prophecy. A footprint, not a prison. A teacher, not your name. So stand now in your fullness, in your truth, in the blazing light of your now. Feel the presence of life not as something happening to you, but as something moving through you. The past cannot enter here. The present is too powerful, too alive, too spacious. And the more you practice presence, the less room there is for old stories. The more you practice forgiveness, the lighter you become. The more you practice compassion, the less you cling. And the more you remember who you truly are, the more the illusion of the past begins to dissolve into the light. There is a space inside you that has never been wounded. A space where no betrayal can enter, no memory can stain, no fear can grow. That space is the silent witness behind all experience. And it's from that space that you are invited now to begin again, not as someone escaping the past, but as someone no longer chained to it. Imagine just for a moment that your entire life was a great stage play. Every person who hurt you, every moment of loss, every heartbreak, they were actors in your soul's theater, playing their part not to defeat you, but to awaken you. What if your suffering was never punishment, but invitation? What if it all existed not to keep you down, but to bring you to this precise threshold where you finally say, I remember now, I am not the character, I am the consciousness behind it. You do not have to keep performing the same role just because you've memorized the lines. You can walk off the stage, you can take off the costume, you can bow in gratitude for the role that taught you strength, and then walk into the next act of your life, unburdened, open, whole. But to do that, you must do something radical in a world addicted to suffering. You must give yourself permission to be free. You must stop waiting for the world to release you. It won't. The people who hurt you may never admit they did. The past will never suddenly rewrite itself. The healing is not going to come from out there. It will come the moment you decide, I no longer identify with this version of myself. That's not forgetting, that's not pretending, that's reclaiming, that's awakening. That's stepping into the truth that your spirit is not a victim of time, it is a creator of it. And creation begins in this present moment. When you say, I am not my past, you are not erasing your story, you are simply shifting your authorship. You are saying, yes, that chapter shaped me, but it no longer defines me. And that is the moment everything changes. That is the moment you begin to write again with the ink of possibility rather than the blood of repetition. Let yourself change. The past may resist. Your ego may grieve. The people around you may question who you are becoming. That's okay. That's expected. When a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't explain itself to the old scales it left behind. It simply grows silently, surely, naturally. The soul is not interested in your history. It's interested in your liberation. And liberation does not come through control, through analysis, through endless digging for why. It comes through surrender, through stillness, through finally allowing yourself to be more than what hurts you. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as simple as not reacting the way you used to, as simple as choosing peace when chaos knocks, as simple as smiling when you once would have shut down. This is what the past cannot touch: your present awareness, your capacity to choose again, your ability to love anyway, to rise anyway, to forgive anyway. Forgiveness, you see, is not just a gift to others sit, is the final key you hold that unlocks the prison of your own pain. It says, I refuse to keep dragging this weight into every room I walk into. I refuse to bring old storms into new days. When you forgive, you are not saying what happened was right. You are saying, my freedom matters more than my resentment. Because resentment is heavy, bitterness is heavy, anger is heavy, and you were never meant to carry so much weight. There is a lightness in letting go. There is a purity in saying, I am no longer the person who needs this story to feel worthy. You are worthy without it, worthy without the suffering, worthy without the label, worthy without the justification. Let me say this clearly and lovingly. You don't owe anyone your suffering. You don't have to keep your pain just to prove how deep it ran. You don't have to relive your trauma just to feel valid. You don't have to stay broken just because someone once told you that was your name. You can rise quietly, gracefully, fully. You can be reborn not into someone new, but into who you've always been beneath the wounds. This is your spiritual inheritance. This is your birthright. This is the divine remembering itself through you. And yes, it takes courage. Yes, it takes stillness. Yes, it takes truth. But everything your soul longs for exists on the other side of identity, on the other side of the story. The moment you say, I choose peace instead, you realign with the essence of life itself. Because life is not interested in your resume of pain, it's interested in your ability to be here, right now, alive, awake, aware. Every morning, when you open your eyes, you are being born again. The world may be the same, but you are not. Every breath is a doorway back to now. Every heartbeat is a reminder that your essence has never been defined by circumstance. You are not what happened to you. You are what you are becoming in this very moment. You are a soul in motion, a spirit in evolution, a being of light wrapped in human form. And you are allowed to outgrow everything that once kept you small. You are allowed to stop telling the story. You are allowed to just be, to walk into a room without needing to explain your pain, to sit in silence without needing to be understood, to laugh again without guilt, to dance again without fear, to love again without protection. Because the truest healing is not in becoming someone new, it's in finally remembering who you were before the world told you to be something else. That version of you, the one beneath the stories, that is the you who is whole. That is the you who was never lost, only covered by the dust of memory. So close your eyes for a moment, breathe. And in that breath, hear the still whisper that says, you are safe now. You are whole now. You are free now. Let it echo. Let it settle into your bones. Let it replace the noise that once screamed your name in pain. Because you are no longer what happened. You are the healing that followed. You are no longer the story. You are the space it unfolded within. You are no longer the victim. You are the vast, unshakable witness. And the witness does not cling. The witness simply is. So breathe again. Smile gently. And remember, the past is a place you visited. It is not where you live. So now, take a breath, a deep, conscious breath, the kind that isn't for survival, but for remembrance. Let it move through you like a wave of light. Let it whisper to every cell in your being, you are no longer what happened. You are what you choose to be now. You see, healing doesn't mean the past vanishes. It means you no longer carry it as your name. You no longer offer it to the world as your introduction. You no longer give it the power to determine what comes next. Because what comes next is yours. Entirely clean, unwritten, not predicted by yesterday, but shaped by your presence today. And maybe that's the greatest spiritual act of all. Not climbing a mountain, not reading another book, not waiting for a thunderbolt from heaven. Maybe it's just sitting quietly and saying to yourself, I do not need to be the person my pain made me. I can be the person my soul has always known me to be. Let the silence, after that truth, be your sanctuary. Let it wash over you. Let it sink in, because no matter how heavy your story has been, no matter how far back it stretches, no matter how many pages were written without your consent, the pen is in your hand now. And with it, you can write something new, not in reaction to your past, but in service to your peace. You can wake up tomorrow and no longer recite the old roles. You can meet the mirror with gentleness, not judgment. You can walk into your relationships not as the person who was wounded, but as the person who has learned to love from wholeness. You can live unburdened. And I say this not as philosophy, not as metaphor, but as deep, sacred truth. You are not your past. You never were. You are not the identity built from pain. You are not the roles you were given when you couldn't defend yourself. You are not the mask you wore to feel accepted. You are not the weight you carried to feel real. You are light. You are awareness. You are love. You are the presence that watched it all and now chooses to let it go. You are the divine wrapped in skin. And the past has served its purpose. It brought you to this threshold. It broke you just enough so that something deeper could open. It challenged you just enough so that surrender became possible. It bruised you just enough so that you'd stop running from stillness and start listening to your soul. So now, thank it. Yes, thank it. Not for what it did, but for what it revealed. Not for the pain, but for the clarity that followed. Not for the suffering, but for the seed of awakening that suffering contained. And once you've thanked it, bless it, then let it go. No need to carry what no longer helps you fly. No need to wear the old name when your spirit has outgrown it. No need to live life looking backwards when your heart only beats in one direction forward. This is the moment, right now, this breath, this stillness, this quiet miracle of being. Let it be enough. Let it be home. Because when you no longer use the past as your identity, something extraordinary happens. You remember who you've always been. That remembrance is freedom. There comes a moment, quiet and subtle, like the wind brushing against the leaves of a tree at twilight, when your soul begins to whisper truths your mind has long refused to hear. In that stillness, a deeper part of you knows, truly knows, that what you've carried, what you've clung to, what you've called your story, has never been your prison. It was your permission to stay in pain, your permission to be right, your permission to keep reliving an identity that has long expired. But now, in this moment of sacred listening, your spirit is inviting you to something higher, not to fix the story, not to explain it, not to relive it once more, but to lay it down, to choose peace over history, The past is not calling for your loyalty. It is not your home, nor is it your identity. It is a trail of smoke that disappears the moment you stop chasing it. It has no power unless you bring it into the present with your thoughts, your attachments, your resistance. You see, suffering is not the result of what happened. It is the result of your refusal to release what happened. And in that resistance, you lose the present, you lose your power, and you lose yourself. We are not here to rehearse our wounds. We are not here to perfect our pain. We are here to awaken to the truth of who we are. Eternal souls wrapped in temporary form, light draped in the costume of memory. And memory, while beautiful when honored, becomes poison when worshipped. When you identify with your history, you become bound by it. You take the pain and make it personal. You say, this is who I am. This is why I cannot change. This is why I do what I do. But who told you that you must keep bleeding just because you were once cut? What if you no longer needed to explain your suffering to justify your existence? What if your healing didn't need an audience or applause or even agreement? What if the highest form of wisdom was not found in understanding the past, but in releasing it? The ego loves history. It feeds on it. It builds altars around your identity and carves the statue of yourself from the stone of yesterday. It wants you to stay loyal to your wound, because the wounded ego is a powerful excuse. It keeps you smaller than your spirit. It tells you, you've been hurt, you've been wronged. They need to understand, they need to apologize, then you will be free. But freedom is not a transaction, it's a surrender. It's not waiting on others, it's waiting on you. You, the soul behind the mask, the awareness behind the story, the light behind the wound. You are not your history. You are not your pain. You are not even your healing. You are the space in which all of it arises, and you are free to choose peace. You see, peace is not earned. It is claimed. It is not found in the retelling of your trauma or the justification of your anger or the analysis of your past. Peace is what enters when your mind becomes quiet enough to stop rehearsing old roles. It's what fills the room when you stop trying to make sense of why it all happened. Peace doesn't wait for your past to make sense, it waits for you to let go. The moment you no longer need your history to explain you is the moment you are free. And perhaps that's the secret most never learn, that the greatest healing doesn't come from understanding, it comes from unburdening. It comes from emptying yourself of the story you keep carrying like sacred scripture, as if it alone defines your worth. But your worth is not born of suffering. It is born of being, of existence, of essence. You were worthy before anything happened. You are worthy now, and nothing from the past, no matter how intense, how unjust, how personal, can take that away, unless you let it. We are trained to believe that closure must come from the outside, that others must apologize, that life must repay us, that justice must be served. But the soul plays by different rules. The soul whispers, let go. Release the need for understanding. Drop the need to be right. Because true peace comes not when the world finally agrees with your story, but when you no longer need it to. This is the deep turning point when your soul, tired of dragging history like a weight, finally decides that peace is the only thing worth protecting. Not pride, not narrative, not revenge. Peace. To choose peace over history is not to deny what happened. It is to deny it power over you. It is to honor it, thank it, and release it. It is to look at the pain and say, you taught me, but you do not own me. It is to open your arms and declare, I am no longer rehearsing a life I've already outgrown. The wake does not drive the boat, and yet so many live backwards, letting the ripple of what was determine the direction of what is. But life, in its infinite mercy, gives you the gift of now a fresh canvas, an unspoken song, a breath untainted by memory. The divine does not hold grudges. It does not keep score. It only flows endlessly, lovingly, unconditionally toward your awakening. And so must you. Let this be the moment when you loosen your grip on the rope of identity. Let this be the hour you set down the story you've been guarding like treasure and realize it was never the truth. It was a doorway, a chapter, a path to lead you to this truth, that you are more than what was done to you. You are more than what you lost. You are more than who hurt you, what you missed, or how long you suffered. You are a divine being, not broken, not behind, not late, not lost, just remembering. There is no healing in history. There is only memory. And memory, unless transmuted, becomes the chain that binds you. You don't need to relive it. You need to release it. You don't need to understand it. You need to rise above it. You don't need to prove anything. You need to come home to the truth that was never wounded to begin with. You are the awareness behind the wound, not the wound itself. You are the sky, not the weather, the soul, not the story. You can stop carrying it now. You can set it down, not because it didn't matter, but because you finally do. You don't need more time to heal. You need less resistance to the healing that has already begun. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. Waiting for you to stop arguing with what was and start allowing what is. Waiting for you to stop defining yourself by your detour and realize that nothing was ever off track. The path, the pain, the pause, it all pointed you back to presence, and presence is peace. Presence is the end of the story and the beginning of truth. What would it feel like to wake up tomorrow with no story? To not be the one who was betrayed, the one who failed, the one who always gets hurt, or the one who never gets chosen? What would it feel like to wake up not as a role, but as a soul? Not as a character in your own script, but as the consciousness watching it all unfold. This is the deep liberation. When you realize that every story about you is not you, that even the most painful identity is just that, an identity, a mask, a learned role played on the stage of time. But who you are, in truth, is timeless. And timelessness cannot be hurt, cannot be defined, cannot be contained by a past that was never yours to keep. You are the one who notices the storm, not the storm itself. You are the stillness beneath every wave of emotion. You are the breath between the thoughts that say, I am broken. You are not broken. You are becoming. Every ending you feared was actually a beginning in disguise. Every loss was a sacred excavation. Life was not trying to hurt you, it was trying to hollow you, to make space, to soften the shell of ego so your spirit could finally shine through. And all along, you were mistaking the breaking for punishment. But the breaking was the invitation. The very thing that shattered you was the thing that cracked the illusion, that let the light get in and let the truth get out. Now is the time to stop repeating. Stop explaining. Stop negotiating your worth with the past. Stop living as if your history has more truth than your soul. Your story has no power unless you breathe life into it. You've already survived it. Now let it dissolve. Let it drift like fog in the morning sun. You don't need to let go of the past because there is nothing to hold on to. You're clenching smoke and calling it identity. You're holding ash and calling it memory. And it hurts not because it's still happening, it hurts because you won't stop reliving it in your mind. The prison was never real. Only your belief in the bars made them feel solid. And yet, here you are, breath moving, heart beating, spirit stirring alive, not despite the past, but because you were never meant to live there. Life has been whispering again and again, come back, come home, come inward. The story is loud, but peace is patient. And peace will wait until you're ready to stop trying to be right and start being free. Imagine a bird refusing to fly because it remembers a cage. That's what we do when we let our history define our direction. But history cannot touch the present unless you let it. The soul does not remember wounds. It remembers wholeness. It remembers light. It remembers the truth that cannot be taken, cannot be dimmed, cannot be undone. You are not here to relive what you were meant to outgrow. You are here to transform, to alchemize, to take the raw material of what happened and turn it into wisdom, into compassion, into presence, but never into identity. The moment you decide to stop defining yourself by what happened, you begin to remember what has always been true, that you are the awareness behind the events, not the events themselves, that your being is untouched by time, that your value is not found in validation or vindication or even victory, but in the quiet peace of knowing you belong to something higher than history. You belong to the now, and the now needs no story. Peace lives where the story ends. Peace lives where the mind surrenders and the soul breathes. Peace is the permission you give yourself to stop defending your pain. It is the soft inner light that rises the moment you say, I am done trying to win an old war. Because every time you replay what hurt you, you reopen the wound. Every time you explain why you are the way you are, you reinforce the lie that your history made you. It didn't. You made you. Your choices, your awakenings, your willingness to rise. You are not who they said you were. You are not what they did to you. You are not even what you did in reaction to them. You are the quiet power behind it all. You are the one who chose to get back up. You are the one who chose to seek truth. You are the one who chose peace or is choosing it now. And that choice is everything. Because in that choice, you become the creator again. You reclaim your voice, not to shout your story louder, but to sing your soul song, a song of silence, of release, of deep grounding joy. The joy that comes not from fixing the past, but from no longer needing to. You see, healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about letting go of everything that is not truly you. The layers of narrative, the burden of roles, the voice that says you must suffer in order to be seen. That voice is not yours. That voice is ego dressed in spiritual language. But truth does not shout. Truth doesn't demand attention. Truth simply is. And when you are still enough to hear it, you remember you've always been whole. There is no need to explain your healing, no need to prove your growth, no need to convince anyone of your peace. Peace is its own proof. It radiates, it softens, it frees. And if they never understand you, so what? If they never apologize, so be it. If the world never acknowledges what you went through, let it pass. Your peace does not depend on their permission. Your peace depends on your release. You can drop it now. Let the story fall away like autumn leaves from a tree that no longer needs to carry the past into the winter. The tree does not mourn the falling leaf. It celebrates the clearing. So too must you. Celebrate what you no longer carry. Celebrate what no longer owns you. Celebrate the sacred emptiness that makes space for the soul to speak again. You are not empty because you let go. You are empty so that truth can finally fill you. And the truth is this: you have always been enough, always been whole, always been free. You just forgot. And now you remember. The world around you is not waiting for your explanation, it's waiting for your embodiment. Life responds not to your wounds, but to your willingness. And the universe does not heal through repetition, it heals through surrender. When you stop telling the story, you stop bleeding from it. When you stop rehearsing the reasons, you begin to remember the truth beneath them all, that you were never the one in need of fixing. You were the one remembering wholeness beneath the noise. You've spent years building scaffolding around your pain with thoughts, beliefs, conditions, and justifications, and none of it made you freer. It only made your prison more elaborate. It only made your history feel more personal, but it was never personal. Nothing that has ever happened to you has touched the essence of who you are. It could not, because what you are cannot be harmed. It can only be hidden behind layers of noise, behind identity, behind a history that you now realize you do not need. The soul does not care who was right. The soul only asks, can you be free? Can you choose liberation over explanation? Can you be the one who lets it go, not because it was okay, but because you are? Can you walk away from the ruins of your past, not as a survivor, but as a witness of grace? Forgiveness, true forgiveness, is not something you give to another. It is the gift you give to your own nervous system. It is the moment you decide, I will no longer let this experience dictate the energy of my life. It is the soft miracle that happens when your spirit speaks louder than your memory. It is not a reward for the past. It is an offering to the present. And understand this, your spiritual power lies not in how much you know, but in how much you release. It lies not in the complexity of your story, but in the simplicity of your surrender. The more you let go, the lighter you become. The more you choose peace, the clearer you see. The ego holds, the spirit flows, and every time you flow, you return home. You see, this whole life is not about collecting experiences. It is about unlearning the ones that told you you were less than divine. It's about stripping away every voice that told you your peace must be earned. You were never here to perform for healing. You were here to realize that healing is not something you chase. It's something you allow. It's something that rises when you stop believing that you are your history. Because you are not. You are the sky before the clouds. You are the stillness before the storm. You are the I am that echoes before any name, any story, any label was placed upon you. You are not your timeline. You are not your wounds. You are not the echoes of trauma or the shadows of childhood. You are now, and now is always unburdened. Now is always free. Every time you remember this, every time you breathe and choose stillness over reaction, truth over identity, forgiveness over explanation, you come closer to yourself. Not the self you invented to survive, but the self that existed before survival was ever needed. The self that smiles without reason, the self that watches without judgment, the self that loves without memory. This is the sacred undoing, the unraveling of everything you were taught to believe in order to reveal what you have always been. And so I invite you right here, right now, to become light, to become so free within that no thought, no history, no opinion can touch your peace. Let your heart be the sanctuary. It was always meant to be not a courtroom for replaying old verdicts, but a temple for silence, for softness, for serenity. There is no version of peace that requires you to keep justifying your suffering. There is no version of freedom that includes dragging your past into every conversation. And there is no version of awakening that keeps your identity anchored to the pain you've already outgrown. You've done enough. You've proven enough. You've explained enough. Now be still. Let it go. Watch what happens when you stop being loyal to your history and start being loyal to your peace. Watch how life reorganizes itself around your release. Watch how your body heals when you no longer rehearse the harm. Watch how your energy shifts when you no longer argue for your limitations. It was never about the other person. It was never about the apology that never came. It was about you finally deciding that your inner landscape deserves the quiet that only comes when you choose peace over proof. Peace over story. Peace over pride. Peace over performance. You are not here to fix your history. You are here to awaken from it. You are here to remember that the soul's language is not made of memory, but of presence. Not of pain, but of possibility. And not of who you were, but of what you are becoming. You don't need to wait another year. You don't need another therapist, another book, another retreat. You don't need more time. You just need one courageous breath where you decide that your life begins not with your pain, but with your choice to stop carrying it. The mind will protest. The ego will scream. But let it, because beneath the noise, beneath the pull, to go back into the old story, your soul is waiting in silence, in stillness, in truth, for you to remember that you've always had the power to choose a new path, not by force, not by fixing, but by releasing, by becoming empty enough to be filled with light again. Let that be your offering. Let that be your rebirth. Not with fireworks, not with fanfare, but with a quiet, holy yes. A yes to peace, a yes to freedom, a yes to now. What a relief it is to no longer perform for your worth. What a liberation to no longer need the world to echo back what your heart has always known, that you are not broken, not behind, not bound. You are not the sum of your reactions. You are not a title carved from trauma. You are presence itself, wearing the brief mask of a life story that no longer fits. There is a sacred courage in releasing the familiar pain, because even suffering can become comfortable when it becomes identity. Even misery can feel like home when you've lived in it long enough. And yet, there comes a day, quiet, sacred, unremarkable to the world, when your soul whispers, I can't do this anymore. Not because it's too hard, but because it's no longer true. You stop blaming, you stop defending, you stop needing to be understood. And in that moment, you are reborn. You begin to see that no one ever truly held you back except your agreement with their vision of you. You thought they had power, you thought their words mattered, but it was your belief that gave them meaning. It was your attachment to the story that gave it roots. And now you are remembering stories only live when they are fed. Stop feeding the old tale and it starves. Stop rehearsing the pain and it fades. You do not heal by digging deeper into the narrative. You heal by rising above it. You heal when you stop believing that your history is holy. You heal when you stop needing your pain to prove your strength. You heal when you stop defining your identity by what hurts you and start defining it by what frees you. And freedom, real freedom, is always simple. It's the moment you walk out of your own cage and realize the door was never locked. You were never waiting on time to pass. You were waiting on permission, and that permission was always yours to give. So give it now. Give yourself the permission to be happy without justification, to feel peace without resolving every detail, to be free without having to explain to the world why you deserve it. You deserve it because you are, not because of what you've survived, not because of what you've lost, not because of what you've learned. You deserve it because you are life itself. You are awareness, unbothered, undamaged, eternal. The stories came later, and they will go when you no longer worship them. Let go of the altar you built around your suffering. Let go of the temple you built around being misunderstood. You were never meant to dwell in the echo of pain. You were meant to rise radiant and soft in the silence beyond it. And what is peace, truly, but the end of your allegiance to pain? What is peace but the moment you say, I choose stillness, even if I was right? What is peace but choosing not to carry the weight of being wounded into every interaction, every relationship, every dream? History wants you to repeat it. Peace invites you to release it. And your soul, ageless, formless, infinite, is asking you now, which will you choose? Because you do choose. Every day, with every thought, with every emotional rehearsal of the past, with every silent agreement you make, with a version of you that no longer fits. Choose again. Choose peace. Choose it not once, but over and over when you're triggered, when you're tired, when you're tempted to explain, to justify, to defend. Choose it when the old story knocks and says, let me back in. Choose it when your ego says, they need to know how much you've suffered. Choose it when your memory tries to seduce you with the false comfort of being right. Choose peace over being right. Choose presence over performance. Choose becoming over blaming. This is not weakness. This is spiritual strength, because it takes no power to hold a grudge. It takes no wisdom to replay a wound. It takes no vision to argue for your past. But it takes divine maturity to say, I will not carry this any longer. I will not breathe life into this pain again. I will not shrink myself to stay inside a story that dims my soul. And make no mistake, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the absence of identification. Peace is what remains when you stop believing the thoughts that keep you in chains. Peace is your natural state. It is not found in retreat centers or mantras or books, though they may guide you there. Peace is found in the stillness between thoughts, in the soft exhale after you've let go, in the presence that remains when identity falls away. You are not becoming peaceful, you are returning to what you always were. And in this return, there is no drama, no grand event, no validation from the world. There is only stillness. There is only the quiet recognition that you are finally free. You no longer need to win an argument that no longer exists. You no longer need to carry the history of a self that was never truly you. You no longer need to live your life through the lens of what happened, because what happened was only one moment in time and you are timeless. You are awareness, and awareness cannot be harmed. You are presence, and presence needs no defense. You are love, and love does not argue. So release the need to narrate your healing. Release the temptation to dress your pain in spiritual robes. Release the idea that your story must be redeemed to have meaning. It already had meaning, but the meaning was never in the pain. The meaning was in your awakening, in your surrender, in the moment you laid it all down and said, enough. I am done carrying this weight. I am done explaining my sadness. I am done performing my pain. I choose peace now. I choose silence over noise. I choose truth over story. I choose soul over ego. I choose now over history, because history can only offer memory, but now offers everything. Now offers God. Now offers healing. Now offers freedom. Now offers life. And so here you are, no longer at war with the moment, no longer demanding that the past apologize for your pain, no longer shrinking yourself to fit inside the container of a story that never deserved to hold your soul. You are standing in the doorway of now. You are at the threshold of what cannot be explained but can only be felt, the sacred space where the mind bows, the ego dissolves, and what remains is something wordless, eternal, and unmistakably you. Not the you the world named, not the you shaped by roles or reasons, not the you that needed fixing, proving, surviving, but the you that watches, the you that never leaves, the you that is always, always at peace. Do you feel it? Not in thought, but in the stillness behind the thought, in the quiet between the next breath and the last, in the moment where you finally stop reaching, stop grasping, stop trying to make the story make sense, and simply let it be. This is not resignation, it is resurrection. You are not giving up, you are giving in. Not to the past, but to the present. To the sacred unfolding of a life, no longer filtered through wounds. To the power of what happens when you stop narrating and start being. You are a divine being. Not becoming, not trying, simply being. And being in its purest form carries no story. It carries presence, it carries truth, it carries peace. What a miracle to no longer identify with the one who was wounded, but with the one who witnessed the wound and chose to wake up instead of stay asleep. What a gift to no longer keep your suffering alive, just so others will know it was real. You know, it was real. That's enough. You lived it, and now you are done reliving it. Because truth does not ask for proof. Healing does not need permission. And peace does not wait. It has been here all along, waiting for you to get tired enough of history to finally choose heaven. Not the heaven in the sky, but the heaven in your breath, in your stillness, in your presence. Do you understand now? Peace is not something you earn by fixing your past. Peace is something you remember when you no longer need to fix anything. And in that remembering, you drop the need to control, to rewrite, to validate. You allow what was to rest. You allow what is to rise. You walk through life no longer reacting, no longer defending, no longer defining your moments by yesterday's shadow. You become quiet, not because you have no words, but because you no longer need them. You become soft, not because you are weak, but because you are free. You become light, not because you chased it, but because you stopped carrying what dimmed it. This is the fruit of choosing peace over history. It's not a loud victory. It's not a spiritual badge. It's not something the world may even recognize. It is a quiet transformation, an invisible miracle, a sacred shift within the heart, where you go from narrating your life to embodying it, where you stop saying, this is who I became because of what happened, and start living as, this is who I've always been beyond what happened. You are not your scars. You are the light that shines through them. You are not your past. You are the sky that held it. You are not your healing. You are the spaciousness that allowed it. And you do not need to prove anything to be worthy of peace. You only need to say yes. Yes to letting go. Yes to being seen without the story. Yes to the you that never needed defending. Yes to the divine flow that carries you now without needing you to steer. This is what it means to be whole. Not to be perfect, not to be certain, but to be empty enough to be filled with what's real. To live your life with open hands, open heart, open awareness. To allow each moment to be what it is, no longer filtered through memory, no longer distorted by projection. Just now, just this, just peace. Because when you drop the story, what remains is always peace. And when you stop repeating history, life begins again. You can hear the birds again. You can feel the breeze again. You can see the sky for the first time in years because your mind is no longer clouded by ghosts. This is what awakening is. This is what freedom is. It is not an escape from life. It is a return to it. A wholly grounded, embodied return to the miracle of being unburdened, unchained, untold. No more rehearsing. No more explaining. No more defending. Only living. Only breathing. Only shining. So let the past go. Let the story go. Let the identity built from pain fall apart like dust in sunlight. You will not miss it. You will not need it. What rises in its place is not a better version of you, but the real one. The one who never needed the story. The one who was never waiting to be healed. The one who has always been whole. Choose peace again and again. Let it become your home, your compass, your baseline. Let it be the place you return to, not when things are easy, but especially when they are not. Because peace is not the end of your journey. Peace is the path. Peace is the teacher. Peace is the light that was always within you before the wound, before the narrative, before the noise. You were never your history. You were never your pain. You are now. You are free. And now that you remember, you will never forget again.